Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, and my guest today is the one and only Michael Fitzpatrick from NCX Group. So excited to have him back today. I am broadcasting live from beautiful Cape May County, New Jersey. And welcome to the Facebook chat, Michael, Lawrence Patterson, and Doug. How are you? Katina, hi. I know I've been away. I am so buried, you guys. I am buried, seriously buried. And listen, if Mike wasn't a regular guest, I probably would have killed today's show too, because I have like 15 phone calls to make when I get off the air today. Listen, it's the beginning of election season. It's the end of the school year, and then it's just like the regular everyday life of the business diva, which tends to be very busy. BZ, welcome! Oh my gosh, I don't think you've ever watched my show, have you? BZ, the bloviating Zeppelin. You have a new showtime. He is a fellow co-host on our network, SHR Media. Plug your show, baby. Put it in a facey chat. Anyway. But I'm happy to be here today. And actually the topic, Mike texted me a couple of days ago and said, this is what I want to talk about. Really important topic, actually. We're going to talk about your kids and social media and the risks. For those of you who have listened to the show before and listened to Mike Fitzpatrick before, you know that his company is a cybersecurity company, and he is an expert in all things cybersecurity. Chelsea Lynn Finelli, how are you, darling? One of my former students. Hopefully she's going to remember some of the things that I taught her in computer class, or whatever it is that I taught her. I don't know. Computers, financial lit, I forget. But welcome. Good to see you, honey. It is a dreary, horrible day here in good old Cape May County, but that's okay. I don't know how you guys' primaries are going where you live. Ours not so awesome, and that's what I put it this. Let me just say this. Part of the reason why I'm really busy is because we had an unexpected congressional candidate win, and let's just say I already had to write a press release in response to something that he said. And it's a little dicey because I wear a lot of hats, and I'm going to have to inform a few people of what I'm about to say before I say it. Because they may or may not want to, I don't know, whatever. I doubt they're going to remove me from my positions, but I just don't want them to get blindsided when I say what I have to say. Because, listen, it's election season and you're supposed to support the candidate that wins. But when the candidate says overtly sexist and racist things and you're a brown woman, I'm not going to let that go, particularly if you're a brown woman in a leadership position in a party. Sorry. You know that there are some things that you just must say. So I've been working on that and sweating out the couple of people that I have to call so that they are aware before they say it. But anyway, happy election season. Hasn't even gotten started yet. Oh, thank you, Michael. You're so sweet, because I have like literally like no face makeup on. I think I have some mascara on, a little bit of lipstick. So I appreciate that very much. Very nerve-wracking for a woman of my age to do to do that. All right. Let's get to the news. Don't make color the reason why I say we are the same. We all bleed red. I say that too. I do, Balder Surison. I agree with you 100%. So when you have a candidate that says that Republicans choose candidates of color that are underqualified for the sake of diversity, I have a fundamental issue with that, particularly when I've been a candidate. So, and I would put my education and my accomplishments up against any of my white counterparts. And I would say the same about many of the other Black candidates that I know who are Republicans that have run for election. So that was like way out of line. Just saying. And I for one, am not having it. So, I mean, come on, what am I here for if I'm not going to say something about stuff like that? I mean, really. So, yeah, I'm not going to let you say that the candidates of color that we pick are underqualified, like their affirmative action picks. I don't think so. Partner. And Katina, I'd be happy to talk about this offline. And not for nothing, and I did want to stay on this topic, but since somebody in the Facey chat mentioned it, not for nothing, but from a political perspective, when you have candidates that say things like that, what happens is all of the dregs and the element of the electorate, and specifically, I'll just go ahead and say it, of our party that we don't want to have a voice, come out of the woodwork and comment on those articles and comment on that video. And that's exactly what we don't want as a party. So if you have that opinion as a candidate, keep it to yourself. It's not helpful. Okay, sorry. I think I'm like not really sorry, but I'm just saying, like, you don't need to say that. And, you know, those things are obvious to anyone who's not a racist. So, like, shut your face. Sorry. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to breathe, okay? I'm going to breathe. And listen, hopefully, you know, the situation will create a dialogue between us and the candidate, because if he expects to have, you know, my support as a woman, which, by the way, he also disparaged, you know, back in the good old days when we weren't out working and we're home making babies, you asked, that's basically what he said. You know, like things were better when women stayed at home. Are you serious? I had to go check my calendar because I thought that we had like somehow went in a time machine and gone back to like 1940, but we hadn't. Actually, we're in 2018. Yeah, amazing. So as a woman who's the vice president of the Federation of the New Jersey Federation of Republican Women here in New Jersey, who associates with tons of very accomplished women who manage to have babies and work and be professionals and run a women's organization, and someone who is brown, I take objection strongly to what was said. And as you all know, me and keeping my mouth shut when I object strongly to something is not a strength that I have. It's not a strength. I'm gonna be as diplomatic as possible, but come on, that's ridiculous. And you can't say that. If for no other reason, then you're running for office, dipstick. Like, what are you doing? Keep it to yourself. Everybody's not Donald Trump. Everybody can't get away with that. So stop it. We need to win. All right. I'm going to take a sip of coffee. No, y'all just y'all just made me blow like completely through the news because I had to rant. Anywho, you're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is Mike Fitzpatrick. Got a brand new Ron Edwards notebook coming your way right now. We'll be back with Mike on the other side of the break.
To tell lies is one thing, but for the people to believe those lies can literally kill our republic. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, a leftist dictator once said to tell a lie and to tell it often enough, and the people will believe it. Such has been the case in America for far too long. The left told Americans that unborn babies were blobs, and it was okay to murder them. Well, thanks to modern technology and the Word of God, that lie has been put to rest, and I see on the horizon an end to wholesale abortion in our republic. The Word of God also says, I will bless those who bless Israel and curse those who curse Israel. For the most part, Americans are inundated with lying propaganda against Israel. In government schools and the media, we are told that Israel should give up more and more land to appease the Palestinians. But that is a big fat lie, because the Palestinians were given numerous chances to dictate specifically what they want in order to have peace with Israel. But the truth is, the Palestinians, Iranians, and others only want to wipe the apple of God's eye off the earth. Our current president has not bought into the lie, and as he blesses Israel, so will America be blessed. I'm Ron Edwards, sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
Ron Edwards, the new voice of America. Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit TaxMama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. That's TaxMama.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, and my guest today is the one and only Mike Fitzpatrick, returning once a month. He is the founder and CEO of NCX Group, a cybersecurity expert, and we are going to talk to him today about your kids and social media. What are the risks? And, you know, social media is big business if we learn nothing else. By Mark Zuckerberg's testimony in front of Congress a month or so ago. So we thought that we discussed this. He texted me a couple of days ago and said, I know what I want to talk about. And I said, let's do it. It's a very important topic. And, you know, as a high school teacher, I certainly see how distracting it can be. And I've also seen some very dangerous things happen, no matter how many times I've warned my students about doing certain things online. So without further ado, Mr. Michael Fitzpatrick, how are you?
I'm doing great. This is the best part of my day so far, other than seeing my lovely wife first thing in the morning. So I'm happy to be here.
Oh, you're so sweet. Please do give her my best.
Will do.
I'm laughing. I just saw the message that you sent me about you not laughing during my read. I thought that was funny. Listen, I can't help myself some days. Some stuff just gets me fired up. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. I was gonna say you got to get that stuff out, otherwise, you know, you'll explode.
Really? I mean, seriously. That is absolutely true, and people don't understand. They have absolutely no clue the grind that it is. But, you know, it's one thing to be brown and like vote Republican. It's another thing to be brown, vote Republican, and hold leadership positions where people ask you questions publicly about stupid things that other people in leadership say. And then you're standing there, you know?
Well, the comment that where I started to laugh was, you know, the qualification of black conservative candidates, and I'm going, the guy that came to my mind on the Democratic side of the ledger was the gentleman from Atlanta that believes Guam is going to tip over. That's what started to crack me up.
Exactly. And here the bottom line is, keep your mouth closed. It's politics. You need not say that. All of these things are, you know, he was talking about the perils of diversity. All of these things are obvious to people who are not racist. And you are just inviting the dregs of the electorate out to make racist comments because they're going to misconstrue what you said as agreeing with them. And that's a problem politically. Just saying, it's just stupid. It's an unforced, you know.
I don't know how anybody runs for office anymore. I've actually run 3 campaigns in my life, I don't know how anybody runs for office anymore because you can't say anything.
You can't. You really can't. I mean, this guy was, you know, if you see the video and you see what he said, it's not his point was not the problem. It was the context and the way he expressed his point that was the issue.
I get it.
That was the issue. Like, you know, back in the good old days when women stayed home, it's like, dude, you cannot, like, okay, there's an argument to be made for that, for sure, but that is political suicide. You don't say that. Like, you just don't. And it's insulting to those of us who work every day. Those of us, and to the many working mothers out there who,
oh, without a doubt,
you know what I mean, who are working and assisting and taking care of their kids and assisting their households financially. It's insulting, and it's not cool. So, you know, he'll hear from me. Mercifully, well, here's the thing: my guardian angel is always protecting me. He's supposed to be at a breakfast for the county, which I never miss, and I have a wedding that day. He's supposed to be the guest speaker, and I have a wedding that day. And I was like,
oh no,
God's looking out again, because if I run into him in person, it's going to be an issue. It needs to be a good while before I see him. But anyway, let's talk about the topic about teenagers and the security risks with social media. I'd love for you to give the audience a bit of insight as to why, as much as you'd like to share, as to why, what made you want to talk about this topic.
Well, okay, so this topic has been on my mind for a long period of time. You know, just personally, as a parent of a son who's now 18 and graduates tomorrow, my son does not have a social media presence. We have not allowed him to have a social media presence, partly because of what I do, because I don't know who might be trying to manipulate my son as part of the work that we do on a day in, day out basis. So we've explained the dangers. I've seen some of the dangers, you know, from a child pornography, a pedophile standpoint, with some of the things that we have done in the past related to forensics investigations. So I'm aware of a lot of the things that are out there, and quite frankly, I don't believe that the social media providers should be allowed to have children under 18. I mean, we don't allow children to buy cigarettes under 18. We don't allow children to buy alcohol under 21. We don't allow. I think there needs to be some serious consideration given to setting an age of consent for social media, because you're introducing children into an adult world. The problem that we have in a lot of cases today with human trafficking on the rise is that you have young children that are online that don't know don't have any practical real world experience, understand when they're being manipulated. And you've got adults pretending to be kids online to manipulate your children. Most parents don't realize that this is the attack. And I've talked about social engineering on the show before, as far as how we social engineer businesses. Your children are being socially engineered every day online by somebody. You've got people coming into your house through the internet to your children that you don't know about. And you have to understand that you have a responsibility to protect them even on the internet side of it. And what drove it home this weekend, Melanie, was a friend of mine from high school. We go back 40 plus years. His 16-year-old daughter disappeared on Friday. Told her dad that she was going to Six Flags there in the Dallas area. Friday morning was going to spend the night at a girlfriend's house that night, and Kevin said okay. Saturday, it turns out, after he found a note, that she left.
What do you mean
Now,
left?
thank God, somebody came to the house. She got into a car, was gone.
And
You know,
who was this person? Did we find out who this person was?
well, if the good news is last night we had a positive result. Now, keep in mind, she's in the Dallas area, in the North Dallas area. She was found last night in 40 miles north of Atlanta. So in 4 days' time, she was in Atlanta. And what had happened is there's a 19-year-old boy that friended this 16-year-old girl online. He drove from Atlanta, picked her up at her dad's house, and drove back to Atlanta.
Wow. Wow.
So this kind of thing happens every day now. One of the things in anybody that works with kids, you go through youth protection training. Going back to my Boy Scout days, you go through youth protection training, and you're taught to look for the signs of grooming and all of this that a pedophile might use. The same thing is now going on online, except it's through words and pictures and making somebody feel good about themselves when they're feeling bad. And they're using that to lure kids, boys and girls, out of the house. And that's the last time parents see it. Kevin was incredibly fortunate that he's able to get his daughter back, because after 48 hours, most don't.
Exactly. That is certainly what you hear, and what police will tell you is that it's highly unlikely that you find them alive after 40 if they're missing for more than 48 hours. Are the circumstances different depending on the household dynamics, like whether or not they're in a regular, whether both parents are in the home or not, or is this really a social media problem? We know that there's always additional problems when kids are raised in single parent households. Would you say that those kids are more susceptible to this kind of thing, or?
Well, I think in some particular cases, you've got situations where, single parent household is always difficult and challenging. But I think as a parent, and the responsibility for this, I believe, starts with the parents. You set parameters, you talk to their children. With my son, we talked to him since he was little as an adult. We explained the reasons why. We explained that it's a safety issue. We explained that here's the impact, how these things go, how they happen. And so I had a really frank conversation with him about it and what the possibility and the risks are, and said, you know what, we want to keep your social media presence. We want to keep your presence online to a minimum until you're old enough to understand how to defend and protect yourself online.
That makes
sense. And
so, go ahead, I'm sorry.
He's done that. The other part of this is with your kids, the reality is anything that goes online is with you the rest of your life. It doesn't get deleted. So anything that they're doing in college, anything that they do in high school, it's all there for people like me doing background checks to go look and see what they might be doing. So the more you're able to minimize someone's social presence, the better off they're going to be long term. And that's the approach we took with our son. The thing that is interesting to me is, I guess it was probably about 3 months ago, I was asked to be interviewed for a small business magazine and an article, and I wanted to find out more about the author. And so I read some of the things that she had written, and one of the things that she had written was an article on giving her son freedom for his 14th birthday.
Oh boy.
And I found it interesting, and I read through it, and her version of freedom was giving him his own social media accounts where mommy wouldn't have access to them, and he gets to make his own decisions. And I can see how that can be interpreted as giving them adult responsibilities. But when she and I talked about it, I said, I appreciate your article, but I said, I don't know that you gave him freedom. I said, my son ended up with absolute freedom. Since there's no social media profile, there's no cyberbullying. There's none of the paraphernalia that goes on with most kids today. He didn't experience that. He had true freedom of thought without the noise of social media.
And you bring about a really good point about that. I mean, I know I experienced this as a teacher, that many of these kids are slaves to the social media. All you hear them talking about, all they're preoccupied with, is what's going on Snapchat or Twitter or Instagram. I mean, they are completely preoccupied with it. And for a certainty, and this is one of the things I find challenging as a teacher, is that parents have no idea. Like, in order, fortunately for your son, dad's a cybersecurity expert, but many of these parents have no tech savvy at all. I just finished an experience over the last couple of days where a student has literally been lying to his parents for the last 3 years about being able to complete his work because of technology issues. He's been lying. The IT person told her that he's been lying, and then I told her, the mom, again this morning, that he was lying, specifically about my class. But the reason why she doesn't understand that he's lying is because she has no frame of reference for technology. In her mind, like, if she understood that, like, one of the reasons why Google's really a popular company and profitable is because they don't screw up very often. So, if I have time-stamped assignments that shows that, your kid didn't touch an assignment for 40 minutes and he was supposed to be working, then, that's accurate information. Google's not, Google didn't make a mistake. So,
yeah, but she timestamp's a timestamp.
Exactly. But she doesn't even understand. We're talking to a parent who doesn't even understand that much about technology. So how much do you think she understands? And she literally said, I believe my son. Like, the IT guy told her he's lying to you. And I told her the same thing. I said, he's not. At first I was diplomatic until she accused me of not being nice to her kid. Then I was like, he's not being honest. But the thing I would say is parents have to get into the game, right? Yes.
They've got to up their game.
They do.
Because the reality is these kids, if parents don't get into the game and don't figure out a way to protect their kids, something bad is going to happen to their kids.
And the other thing that kids do too, let me tell you something. There is nothing slicker than a teenager. No one lies more than a teenager. Even the kids whose parents think that they may be on top of it by monitoring their social media. A lot of these kids have those accounts are dummy accounts. And then they have their real accounts where they post, all the salacious stuff with the profanity and everything else. Why they feel comfortable saying that in front of me, I don't know. But but it's the truth. And so, parents have to be really vigilant when it comes to this kind of thing.
Well, yeah, so in my particular case, my son and I share an iTunes account. I see everything that he downloads. Because it's got to come through me.
As you should.
So, there's a way There's a way to do this, parents. It takes a lot of extra work, but you got to do it.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And I like I said, I mean, you have parents who don't even know how to send an email. Who, I had the same mother told me that Power School it gets blocked all the time, and I'm like, no, it's not. Your kid's lying. Like he's lying. He's playing you because he knows that you don't know what you're doing. Take a computer class. Like you need to. He's majorly getting over. And it's great for him now, but with no accountability and with him having free reign and free access to God knows what, you're right. Something bad is going to happen, and that's a problem.
Well, I mean, what it comes down to is you really don't know who else is coming into your house every day. Parents do a great job of protecting their kids, at the home itself. But you have this electronic window that provides access to your kids that you have no idea who is saying hello or who's coming through a game machine, who they're playing games with online.
Yes, and that is another big problem. I don't even think that many parents at large understand the concept of the video games streaming live and that they're interacting with strangers. I don't think that a lot of parents even understand that that's what's going on. I don't. That's the impression that I get, that they're talking to these people and that they are absolutely complete strangers. Like, your 16-year-old daughter could be talking to, some 30-year-old man playing Minecraft or something. And like under normal circumstances, you would not allow your teenage daughter to be chatted up alone by a grown man. You would not allow that. So, it's very scary. You have, there are many, I've made many mistakes in my life. Not having kids was not one of them. I'm just saying, I don't know how. It's way too much to keep track of, for sure. It's just,
well, you want to give the kids a phone and a way to contact you if something happens or something is going on or change of plan. It's that phone that and that window that it creates that's potentially a problem. I posted a link on your Facebook page of a great tool from a company called eAgency. And eAgency is run by a friend of mine, and they've created a tool for actually monitoring mobile devices. And it gives parental controls and things like that. They actually have a division of the company that works with law enforcement, and they pretend to be children online to draw out the pedophile.
Oh, I like that.
And so the police have software to where they're able to identify these people all over the world. There's a couple of organizations out there. One is Operation Underground Railroad, which is a group of former CIA, FBI, Navy SEALs that go into locations all around the world and free children from sex slave rings. And just they do incredible work and just amazing people for what they do. There's Ashton Kutcher, the celebrity Ashton Kutcher. He's a technologist, and he's got a company that has developed software for identifying these pedophiles that are out online and working, and they use that tool within law enforcement. So he's at the forefront of this human trafficking epidemic that we have.
And it is indeed an epidemic. It is absolutely frightening what's going on. We are up against a break, so I'm going to go ahead and take a natural break. So we've talked all about the dangers. When we come back, I want to talk about now I know your son doesn't have a footprint at all. I want to ask you on the other side of the break, is it possible to have your kids on there at all? What are some safety tips to give to your teenager if they're already online? What are some guidelines? Is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
All righty. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is Mike Fitzpatrick, and we're talking about social media and your kids' safety. What are the risks? We'll be back in a moment.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcast. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting beyond enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the Below-Eating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow and Islam blend the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Ever-Present Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's no surrender ever, because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Glenn. I'm excited to tell you about a show on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only, all-powerful, the Below-Eating Zeppelin's here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're gonna chat. Wednesday night. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's Business Diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Cuban by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette, and my guest today is Mike Fitzpatrick, founder and CEO of NCX Group, cybersecurity expert extraordinaire, and we're talking about your kids and social media and all the risks that are involved. Before the break, we talked about the many perils that there are associated with your kids and social media. And I asked Mike before the break if he could discuss like what parents can do, what kids can do, how can we protect ourselves, and how can we protect our kids. Those of you who are crazy enough to have them, I'm kidding. I'm joking. But those of you who have kids, how can we protect your kids and protect your digital footprint? Like, what Mike was saying before the break about, that stuff not leaving the internet. Let me tell you something. Mike said earlier, I don't know how you run for office these days because you can't say anything. I'll tell you a little campaign secret. Before you even announce, the very first thing they tell you to do before you even mention that you're running, step one, call somebody like Mike and have your social media scrubbed. Absolutely the first thing they tell you to do before you even whisper that you're running, because your opponents are going to start looking at your social media and find something stupid that you posted. And trust me, they're going to find it. So, and I can't even count the number of times that a former student has posted something because they're in college and having a good time and they're on Twitter. And I've messaged them and said, yo, take that down. Did you listen to anything I taught you in my class? Like, you're drunk. Take that tweet down. So, it happens. It happens. So, Mike, what can we do to protect our kids? What are some things? What are some suggestions?
Well, I think first and foremost is don't be afraid to use parental controls on mobile devices, on computers, on video games. Don't be afraid to use your parental abilities to control their environment. After all, you're the adult, they're the kids. It's kind of up to you to learn how to do that.
Say it again. Repeat that.
Limit their screen time, limit their accessibility, what websites they can go to. All of those things are within parental controls.
And listen, I work in a computer lab. My class is in computer lab, and I will tell you that kids will work to override that stuff. So you really do have to be built. I mean, I'm the teacher, and they do it right in my classroom. They will go into the controls and override the school security. So that, if they'll do it to the teacher, they'll darn sure do it to their parents. They're more comfortable with you. So you really have to watch.
You know what I think we need to do is actually develop keyboards that have a little electronic shock when they go somewhere that they're not supposed to.
I like that idea. I don't know that I could get that in my classroom, but I like it anyway. I think we should bring paddling back personally, but that's I'm serious. That's part of the problem. It's part of this is really, frankly, a parental issue. You brought up earlier, your first tip was not to be afraid to impose parental controls. And I think that
Right.
is more of a parenting issue than a technology issue.
Well, I mean, the thing about technology is great, right? It improves our lives in a lot of different ways. But the problem is technology can be used for good and for bad. It's your choice in how it gets used in your house. Now, if we do a good job of controlling it at home, we don't need legislative answers. I'm a firm believer in, if you don't like more government, then we need to volunteer and do more in society. Because if we're doing more than government, we have no need for it to do more.
That's absolutely true.
So it's kind of the same thing in your house. And I remember this from a friend of mine that's a police officer. And he says, either you learn to control your kids at home, or I will control them in jail. And there's a lot of truth to that statement.
There's a ton of truth to that statement. And, the kid that I was discussing earlier that's been lying to his parents for years about the technology, the part of the reason why I was pressing the issue is because of what you just said. This kid is not being held accountable because his parents are believing his lies. And that is eventually going to catch up with him. And that is what I'm really concerned about. So, what you said is absolutely true. And we can't be afraid as adults to impose what is necessary guidelines, because they don't have the experience. They have the intellect, which can fool us, right? Because they know so much about computers. And that's great. But they don't know about the other things, about the dangers. They're still young and naive.
Exactly. And I mean, you wouldn't turn them loose in the real world, right? Yeah. I mean, my son, up until he started driving, and this was the problem that we found with the driving side of things. I said to my wife, I said, we haven't let him walk to the corner store yet. Now we're going to give him a vehicle to go drive in?
Right, where he can go wherever he wants, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say he could go to California because I'm in New Jersey, but you're in California, so he can go to New Jersey. But why would he want to?
He can go to New Jersey. He can go to Vegas.
Right, for sure. But that is very now. Is there anything that parents should look for? Like, let's just say there are parents listening right now, and they haven't done anything as far as checking in and securing and really doing any extra steps to check their kids' social media. What would you suggest as like a first step right now that they could do to make their kids' social media a little more secure?
You know, I think one of the things that you have to do is have an honest conversation with your kids about the risks. You know, about the bad folks that are out there. There's all kinds of videos and shows on this, and maybe sit down and have that frank conversation with your kid. That's what we did. That's what we did with Jared. And I can't believe I just said his name out loud.
I
anyway,
know.
But that's what we did with him. We explained it. Had a frank conversation, answered questions for him, but there was no doubt that we were going to control that environment.
For sure. And I am guessing you had that conversation more than once.
Actually, probably twice. You know, he's a different kind of kid. He got it. He understood the risk. Part of that is based upon what I do for a living. He sees some of the things. He's heard some of the things. You know, we've been involved in cases with the FBI and local law enforcement because one company we were doing a cybersecurity assessment for, we found child pornography on the company's servers that was being distributed by one of their employees.
Oh, dear goodness. So, of course, you have to bring the authorities in at that point.
That's the law.
Wow. Yikes. That didn't even occur to me that you guys would run into that kind of thing while you were doing assessments.
Yes. And there's things that we've seen that, you know, quite frankly, you'll never unsee. So this whole thing is really real. There was one project that we were brought into, a friend of a friend. FBI came in, raided her place of business, took away all the electronics, all the files, yellow taped the building, and she's in real estate and has been in real estate for 30 years. So it's very public when the FBI comes rolling in.
Yeah.
It was part of the Wonderkin network of pedophiles that were busted globally in the early 2000s. And the long and short of it was that her handyman for all of the commercial properties that she has had loaded 9,400 images of children that he was distributing online, and you needed to be at 10,000 to be a member of this club.
Okay, I need to talk because dead air on the radio is a really bad thing. But I'm but I am uncharacteristically That is unbelievable. That's unbelievable. And you know, I will tell you, as somebody who occasionally leaves my classroom computer on and goes back into, you know, my classroom. I have an office in my classroom. wonders if somebody was on it because I, didn't log off like I was supposed to. I won't do that anymore. It's the last time that's going to happen. But, wonders if, the night crew or whoever, jumps on a computer while I'm gone and is doing whatever under your sign on, right? All because you didn't log off.
Correct. So this particular individual ruined this woman's business after she gave him computer access.
And it had nothing to do with her at all.
Nothing.
Oh, gosh, that's scary. That is absolutely right. And that's why we need companies like NCX, frankly, not to do a glaring plug, but it's absolutely true. Why we need companies like yours and the protections that your company provides so that you can catch stuff like this before you end up the subject of an FBI investigation. My goodness.
Well, you never know how some of your company's equipment is going to be used. There was one particular company. We came in and did an assessment, and we found that the old CIO was running porn and gambling on company servers. The bandwidth was better.
Well, fortunately, if you work in a public school, your at home high speed internet's always going to be better than that. But that is, I am amazed how many people do illegal things at their job. I don't get that, because I would think that your chances of getting caught is actually significantly higher. But maybe these are people who don't know anything about technology. But that's like,
well, when you're the CIO of the company and you can hide those online businesses, it's rather easy to do.
True. That makes a lot of sense. Well, this was an extremely good suggestion, as usual. Thank you so very much. How can people get in touch with you, get in touch with your company? And also, you have a podcast of your own that is excellent. Tell the audience about that real quick.
Okay, so if you'd like to get in touch with us, the best way is probably the company website, ncxgroup.com, ncxgroup.com. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at ncxgroup. And the podcast that Melody is way too kind about is Bite-Size Security on Anchor.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I want to thank everybody in the Facey chat. I want to thank Mike Fitzpatrick, of course, for being here and giving us such great, excellent information. Everybody in the Facebook chat, thank you so very, very much. And everybody on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio who's listening, if you downloaded this podcast and are listening on iTunes or any of the other platforms, thank you so very much for doing so. I do indeed appreciate you. And remember, all of this is very important because after all, it's your money. Have a great night.